I'm Starborn. Remember, to be a star, you have to shine your own light, follow your own path, and not be afraid of the darkness, because that's when stars shine brightest. The title of tonight's Starborn show is called Small Victories, and I think that's all we're going to be able to look forward to this week. In fact, it could even be a little difficult to get a small victory, but it's better than nothing. And that is because even though we are still under the wonderful aspects of a beautiful grand trine in the water signs involving Mercury at 28 degrees of Scorpio, trining an exalted Jupiter at 24 degrees of Scorpio, and then they're both trining Saturn, which is direct in Pisces, at 25 degrees, and Neptune, the ruler of the sign, is in Pisces at the 29th degree of Fate, and it is retrograde. So is Jupiter. But this fabulous grand trine in water signs is holding the way it has been for weeks now, and that simply means that you could be very much in touch with your most sincere feelings. And if you have in mind a precious goal or a precious dream of yours, you could still be sort of dreaming about that right now and thinking that you can make it come true, which I think you can, as long as you are very honest about your true feelings right now, and as long as you express them. In other words, you talk about them, or you let somebody know what you're thinking. And that is because Mercury is in Scorpio. Scorpio rules survival. I don't think your precious dream or a fond goal of yours is going to succeed if you don't just talk about it, or if you don't present something, or you don't sort of prove that you're really sincere about it. So you at least have to do that. And that's very important because the grand trine is not going to hold. Mercury is part of that. It's at 28 degrees of Scorpio, so it's only got 2 more degrees before it leaves, and there goes the grand trine. And so, you need to be a little bit careful, and really, however you're spending your time, try to spend it on what you care about or who you care about most right now. So that could give you the opportunity to make some sort of a move. Cancer rules moving, but it also rules endings, and so you might have to make a few endings, 1 or 2 at least, before you could go forward with a move right now that had been long anticipated or long desired. So that might still work out. And why? Because the money would be there. And the reason why is Scorpio is a fixed financial sign, and there could be news about money, perhaps, that is coming in a way that allows you to make a fond dream or a goal come true, even if you have to end something else first in order to do that. So that's good. But Jupiter in Cancer is the only planet out of the 10 that doesn't have any harsh aspects to it. So an ending would go over real well because Cancer rules ending and Jupiter is there. But it's the only planet that's not being adversely affected because Cancer is a cardinal sign and there isn't anything in the other cardinal signs. Nothing to challenge it. And that's because there's nothing in Aries or Libra or Capricorn right now. However, the reason why it's sort of slim pickings right now, or the best you could do is a small victory right now, is because all 9 other planets are being harshly aspected. And that's what we have to work with this week. It's somewhat similar to last week, because there were 6 planets last week, and there still are, that are in harsh T-cross among the mutable signs. Now, one of those planets has changed, but still, they're really coming up against each other. And they're all squaring and opposing the final mutable sign, which is Gemini. And there isn't anything in Gemini right now. But we have the Sun, Venus, and Mars in Sagittarius, all opposing the sign of Gemini, which doesn't have anything in it. And then that Sun, Mars, and Venus in Sagittarius is squaring 2 other planets in Pisces. They are squaring 2 other planets in Pisces, which are Saturn, which is now direct, and it is being conjuncted by Neptune, the ruler of the sign. There are only 2 really strong planets in the heavens right now. One of them is that exalted Jupiter in Cancer, and the other is Neptune in Pisces, because even though it's retrograde, it's at the 29th degree of Fate, meaning something is on or over, which could describe your dream or your goal if you don't do something about it. And then Neptune is the ruler of the sign, and so it is in the grand trine in the water signs. That's what makes it so strong, even though it's coming up. Ooh, it's an immutable sign as well. And so Saturn and Neptune are squaring Venus, the Sun, and Mars in Sagittarius, and they are opposing the Moon, which is today in Virgo, another mutable sign. So there's your 6 planets all coming up against each other, and they present 2 very big problems. And that's why there can only be small victories or sort of slim pickings this week. The first problem is that there are 2 malefic planets squaring each other. That Mars in Sagittarius is being squared by Saturn in Pisces. And so that can lead to problems when information behind the scenes, which is what Pisces rules, or hidden information, or things that had been concealed, come out in the open, and they would result in some sort of court action. And you may not be happy about that, but there can be people around, since Saturn is squaring Mars, that can be very aggressive, and they may not want to see you have your dream or your goal come true. They may be hostile, and they may be trying to prevent that. And they may bring out anything behind the scenes, whether it's true or not, in order to thwart your progress. And this could involve the things that Sagittarius rules, which is international law, or the higher mind, in higher education, or religion, or there can be conflicts there, or conflicts with people in foreign countries. Either they're upset, or information comes out behind the scenes, and that can present some sort of legal problem as well. At the same time, they are all squaring and opposing that gentle Moon in Virgo, which has very little support. Uranus and Taurus is trining it, but it's getting hammered anyway by these 5 other planets that are squaring and opposing it. The second problem with this harsh T-cross in the mutable signs is that Venus is in Sagittarius, but it's being squared by Saturn. When Venus is squared or opposed by Saturn or Mars or Pluto, it is an indication of a betrayal. And so another reason why it could be a little hard for you to have a big victory this week is that something could involve a betrayal, either to you, or that you're doing, or that is in your vicinity. Could be in your neighborhood, it could be at work, but it involves some sort of betrayal. So that is going on. And then there are 3 more planets that are in another harsh T-cross in the financial signs, or the fixed signs, which involves both financial signs. And that is because that Mercury in Scorpio, which is part of that grand trine in the water sign, so it's pretty strong. That Mercury is at 28 degrees of Scorpio. And so it is exactly and harshly being opposed by Uranus, a malefic planet, at the 29th degree of fate in Taurus. And so Uranus, which rules sudden surprising change, and it's in a fixed financial sign, is coming up against Mercury, which might have some good news about money, but it's going to be, it's either good news that could help you get something underway, but it may not be enough to facilitate everything that you want right now. But still, that Uranus is coming up against Mercury in Scorpio. Uranus isn't really that strong because there's another planet in a fixed signs that's making trouble for both of these planets, and it's Pluto. Pluto is in Aquarius now, the sign of the future, and it represents upper management in large corporations, government agencies, or institutions. They're up against problems now too. That's why they're going to have, if at best, only a small victory, because Pluto is squaring Uranus, and it's also squaring Mercury in Scorpio, and all 3 of these planets are squaring or opposing the 4th fixed sign, which is Leo, and Leo doesn't have any planets in it, so it's sort of taken the hit from all of this. But that's no good. And so that can indicate that people who have financial problems are stuck with their financial problems right now, because this harsh T-cross in the fixed signs involving both financial signs is pretty hard to live with. And so people can either be having troubles, financial troubles, just meeting their own budgets right now, whether it's at home or companies that have that problem at work. Or it can be that there are people in upper management that want to move forward into the future, and they don't have enough money to pay for that either. So financial matters are sort of stuck right now, and we all have that to contend with. And so you can see why if at the best you'd have a small victory this week, and as long as you're true to your feelings, as long as you're being as honest as you can with what you know is right for you, you could achieve a small victory. I don't think there's going to be any big ones right now. There are too many harsh aspects. However, in the end, that grand trine in the water signs is holding. It will not continue to hold, but it's doing it right now. So if you're going to have a small victory, it's going to depend on some sort of ending that you can make. Remember, Jupiter has nothing wrong with it, and it is in Cancer, the sign of endings. There's nothing squaring in opposing that. So you could bring about a good ending that is probably overdue, and maybe more than one. And maybe that could lead to a small victory for you, because it would free you up to possibly make a project that you've been dreaming about that you could work on, or a precious dream come true, or a move that you have been delayed for a long time. Maybe you could succeed at that. And possibly there would be some money to help you with that as well. So that grand trine is really holding right now. And that's why, even if you could only succeed at a small victory this week, or even if you're looking around at your choices and it's sort of slim pickings because you figure you don't have a whole lot of choices, at least if you were honest with yourself, you still could move forward, even if it was just a little bit. So I wish you the best on that. All right, what does this mean to all 12 of the sun signs? Aries. For you, Aries, I think that you can certainly succeed with a small victory, because there are 3 planets in Sagittarius. Venus, the Sun, and Mars are all there trining your Sun. Well, Mars is your own ruler, Aries. That's good for you. It's in good aspect to your Sun sign. However, your Sun sign is a cardinal sign, and there's not a lot going on in the cardinal signs right now, because there isn't anything in your sign or in Capricorn or in Libra. In fact, the only planet that's in a cardinal sign is squaring your sun sign, and that is the exalted Jupiter in Cancer, indicating that there has to be endings. It might be ending to sort of the good life. If you've been living a little high on the hog and really enjoying yourself, Aries, you may have to cut back on that. You may have to end something that has been somewhat costly for you, maybe because it doesn't fit in your budget. Or it can be, since your sign opposes the sign of Libra, it can be that there can be quite a change in a partnership, or if you're looking around for partners, it might be a little hard to find them right now, Aries. Remember, the best we can do is look at small victories right now. And your ruler is trining your sun. That's good. But actually, the planets in Sagittarius are part of 6 planets in mutable signs, which are all squaring and opposing each other. So even Venus in Sagittarius trining your sun, and the Sun, and Mars, your ruler, they're not strong enough, because they're being so harshly aspected by themselves. They're not strong enough to get you out of a tight spot. You'll have to think of how to do that on your own, Aries. And I would suggest that you try not to keep going the way you've been going. Try to cut back on something right now. That way you would have some sort of small victory. It might be with your budget. It might be with your activities. Maybe you need to slow down a little bit. This is not what an Aries would like to hear, because Aries have a lot of energy. But watch where you walk, Aries. I don't see an end goal succeeding right now. And so if you were able, for anybody, we're going to have small victories this week if we get lucky, or else none. And so you're going to have to sort of be very careful what your next step is, Aries. And I would say don't step too far. And, you might have to end something first, so good luck. Okay, what does it mean to a Taurus? Well, Taurus, Uranus is in your sign. It's a malefic planet, indicating sudden surprising change, volatility, rebellion. sort of up to no good. That's why they call it a malefic planet. And it's at the 29th degree of fate in your sign. And it is retrograde as well. And so it's on a blind star, which is an indication, Taurus, that you may have been a little bit blind or not able to really see some financial conditions in your life that could be threatened. Now, it might have something to do with your health, Taurus, and maybe you've been pushing yourself too hard. Well, then maybe you better step back. And that is because the moon today is in Virgo, trining that Uranus in your sign, but nothing else is. And since Virgo is a mutable sign, that poor little moon is taking a hit from the opposition of all the planets in Pisces and the square from the 3 planets in Sagittarius. It's not able to help you very much. And so if you are sort of feeling some sort of a crunch in your budget right now, Taurus, I would say that you need to reduce your expenses in one way or another. Or even if you have been doing too many things that have been costing you money, you've got to pare down on that so that you can cut your costs. And it wouldn't hurt you. And the reason why it might be real good for you to do that is because it wouldn't be as expensive. So cutting back on your lifestyle choices might be a good idea right now, Taurus. But the other side of the coin is that you may need to put some money not into your lifestyle, but into your own health. And sort of spend a little money. If you have any health problem at all, this is a time when maybe quietly you need to concentrate a lot more on that, Taurus. And I think that might cost you money. But, it's a good idea to try and be as healthy as you can. And if you need to address a health issue right now, or you need to get a little bit more rest, that would just be good for you, Taurus. Taurus is a good hard worker, but you don't want to burn out, and that could happen. Or you could make yourself sick. What good is that? So this is a better time for you to sort of cut back on things, watch your bills, try to pay them down. If you have any debt, try to get rid of that, Taurus. Debt can sink anybody, and Mercury is in Scorpio. Scorpio rules debt, and it's opposing that Uranus in your sign, and Pluto is squaring it. So you really need to cut back on something, whether it's debts or the high cost of living or just health problems that you need to address. It would be better if you focused a little bit more on yourself right now and not on anybody else. Try to do your best. Good luck. Okay, what does it mean to a Gemini? Well, Gemini, you had a full moon recently in your sun sign, so that there could have been a lot of light on you. But there's nothing in your sign right now. There is one planet that's trining it, though, and that's a pretty powerful planet, Pluto in Aquarius. However, it is part of a harsh T-cross in the fixed signs, which means that Pluto is coming up against, which represents management, upper management in large corporations, government agencies, or institutions. And those people, which you might be associated with, Gemini, in one way or another, are feeling a real squeeze. They're stuck between trying to afford their current budgets and also trying to afford what they want to do in the future. So they don't have all the money that you think they do. And that's the problem. And so even though Pluto is trining your sun, this is not a time for you to be spending a lot of money, Gemini. You might have it, but this is not a good time to show it or to spend it. I would conserve my resources right now, Gemini. And that is because you have 6 planets that are all dumping their frustration into your sign. That's a little bit heavy duty. And that is because Saturn and Neptune in Pisces are squaring your sun. The moon today in Virgo is squaring your sun, so you might need to address a health problem as well, or some accounting matter. And then the real challenge is coming from Venus, the Sun, and Mars in Sagittarius, all opposing your sun sign, Gemini. That's heavy duty. It's a heavy-duty opposition. Not everyone is a happy camper these days, and they may have hostility on their mind and aim it at you, Gemini. So I would keep a very low profile this week. Nothing wrong with that. And if you want to talk to people in upper management about some future plan or idea or dream of yours, you could do that. I would do that real quietly, Gemini, but Pluto in Aquarius is the only planet trining your sun, but that could, if you needed to go to sort of the higher ups to get them to listen to you, I think there's a strong possibility they might do that. And that would represent a small victory. It might not give you everything you want right now, Gemini, but you might be able to talk finally to the right people and get around the ones who have hostile attitudes or all kinds of problems of their own. You really don't need to take on anybody else's problems right now, no matter how hard they try to dump them on in your lap. Don't do that, Gemini. Sit back and be honest with your feelings. Remember that Grand Trine in water signs is holding right now, but it won't continue, but it's doing that right now. And that's when you need to go and talk to some people that are sort of higher up, that, they would be the right people for you either to get advice from or for you to share your ideas with. They might really like your ideas. And that would be a small victory to begin with, but it might lead to much greater things in your future, so good luck. Okay, what does it mean to a Cancer? Well, Cancer, lucky you, Cancer. Gee, you must be living right, because the only planet in the heavens that has nothing challenging it at all is Jupiter in your sign, and Jupiter is exalted in your sign. It's going to stay that way until next year. And so, Cancer, you're in the driver's seat. You're more in the driver's seat than you realize, because there's nothing stopping you right now. So could you achieve a big victory right now? No, Cancer. The Grand Trine in the water signs, which is certainly benefiting you, and since your sign rules endings, it would help you make some good endings now. And you have nothing stopping you from doing that. You could succeed at making good endings right now. That's not exactly the same as having a big victory right now, except that how can a person go forward if they're always living in the past? Those are opposite directions. They can't do that. So if there is something that is associated with your past or people from your past that sort of make you feel as if you're just living in the past, that's what's got to end, Cancer, because nobody is living in the past, or they shouldn't be, because time doesn't move backward, it moves forward. So if you're going to grow and really come into a wonderful time of your own, or make a long-delayed move, or make a precious dream come true, you could do it. There's nothing stopping you, Cancer. However, one reason nothing's stopping you after you make some important endings so that you can move forward into your future is that Mercury is in a Scorpio, a fixed financial sign, and it's trining that Jupiter in your sign, which means there's some more money around somewhere for you, and that would be good for you. Maybe you do have some high debts or some loans that have to be repaid. There may be some more money around, or the sale of property or something like that, that could allow you to end something from your past and still go ahead and make a precious dream or some sort of goal of yours come true. And this would be just about the last minute, Cancer, but you could still do it. And that is because Saturn, which is now direct in Pisces, and Neptune in Pisces, which is there's two very strong planets, Jupiter in your sign and Neptune in Pisces, because Jupiter is exalted and Neptune is at home in the sign it rules. And so, since they're trining each other, it simply means you could work on maybe a precious dream behind the scenes and succeed at that. You have to be real careful what you do right now, Cancer. And the reason why is that I don't think even you would achieve a huge success or a big victory right now. But you certainly could achieve some small victories that might have to do with detaching from the past and instead looking forward and at last being able to make a move or a precious dream of yours come true, somewhat at the last minute. And that would be because you'd have the money for it. There would be money around one way or another. Even if you had to sell something, that would give you the money to move forward. And so you're in a very good spot right now, Cancer, and I hope you spend some time doing something with that. And that would mean endings, which is what your sign rules, which could be good endings, good for you and good for whoever else you're ending something with, because they need to get into the future too. And so, let a few things go, Cancer. You might have been worried. Cancer's worried about a lot of things. The moon is in Virgo, and Virgo's worried about a lot of things. And I don't think you need to do that. You need to concentrate much more on your future and your happiness and what your real honest feelings are. Not the pretend stuff, not the thing that you've always been doing, and so it's just repetition. It doesn't mean anything to you anymore. That's what's got to end. And you've got to get headed toward home, toward whatever or whoever would really make you happy. So there may be a move in your future, Cancer, and the sooner the better. That would work out well for you. And just remember, this grand trine is not going to hold. Jupiter's going to stay in your sign until next year, but the grand trine won't hold because Mercury's about to move out of Scorpio. So give it your best effort right now, Cancer, and good luck. But just be happy with small victories, which I think are going to have a lot to do more with how you end things from the past, because you got to get that off your back before you can head into your future, don't you think? All right, what does it mean to a Leo? Well, Leo, this is a time, Leo, when you can certainly benefit from the fact that there are 3 planets in the fire signs and they're all trining your sign, and one of them is your ruler. And that is because Venus is now in Sagittarius, so is the Sun, your ruler, and Mars is there as well. They're all trining your Sun, Leo. But because they're in a mutable sign of Sagittarius, they are getting hammered by 6 planets in a harsh T-cross in the mutable signs. And so I'm not certain that they're as much help to you as you could use. In other words, you have other problems. Sagittarius rules higher education, it rules religion, it rules long-distance travel, and I'm sure you'd love to take a long-distance trip, Leo. That would be great. It also would be pretty expensive. But yours is a fixed sign, and there are 3 planets in a harsh T-cross in the fixed signs, and all 3 of them, which are squaring and opposing each other, are doing that to your sign as well. And so Pluto in Aquarius is opposing your sun sign, which means that your future could be looking a little iffy right now, because you might not be able to count on everybody who is in upper management right now. Maybe they're not necessarily thinking the way you think right now. And then you do have money problems, Leo. And the reason why is that Mercury is in Scorpio, a fixed financial sign. It would indicate news about money, because Mercury rules news. But look at what Scorpio rules: credit, debt, taxes, loans, insurance costs, inheritance, or grants. And so there can be either money going out or some money coming in, but it might be used to pay off debts right now, because I think you've got some financial obligations that you probably would be better if you attended to those right now, Leo, before they got more expensive. And then another planet, a malefic planet, Uranus, is at the 29th degree of Taurus, the other fixed financial sign, which rules investments and commercial property and the good life, fine food and wine and things that are expensive. But that Uranus is squaring your sun. It's been doing that for the last 6 years, except for a brief period when it went into Gemini, but now it's come back into Taurus, where it's going to remain until next year. And it's squaring your sun, which means that you could be one of these people, since yours is a fixed sign, that is stuck right now between the current costs that your budget needs to cover and the future costs that you can be anticipating. And nobody can afford both right now. So people, particularly the people that are in fixed signs, because fixed signs don't budge, could be having a trouble with financial matters, particularly you, Leo, because all 3 planets in the other 3 fixed signs are harshly aspecting your sun sign. And you have the backup of the 3 planets in Sagittarius, and they're all being squared and challenged by planets in the mutable signs. I don't think there's a way out of your financial problems right now. Leo. But if you decided to sell something, or if you decided to step back from a more extravagant lifestyle, and extravagance is ruled by your sign, Leo, and if you got a little more practical, or just stop spending so much money, you may be able to pay off some bills or some debts or sell some things and put yourself in a better financial position. I think it's going to be up to you, Leo. And I don't think you're going to get a lot of help from anybody else. Remember, this show is called Small Victories. So if you somehow could have a small victory in a financial matter that is worrying you right now, at least you might be able to do that. But I think you'd have to sell something in order to cover either your debts or a loan or the high cost of your lifestyle right now. So you need to look at all of that first. Because it's sort of staring you in the face right now, Leo. You've got to do something about your financial position. Or just try to unload some debts. Or try to sell something and just put yourself in a little more solid position. Even if it's a small victory, it's better than nothing. So good luck. Okay, what does it mean to a Virgo? Well, Virgo, today the moon is in your sign. It does have a little bit of backup because Uranus at the 29th degree of fate in the financial sign Taurus is trining that moon. So there is the possibility, if you have an investment or you own any commercial property, that you might be able to sell it right now. And you could say to yourself, well, I bought that for future profits. And I would suggest that you take another look at the current financial situations in the world, Virgo, and perhaps you should not be involved in anything speculative right now. It's not a good idea. Why? Because the moon is in your sign, and it's getting hammered, because it is being opposed by Saturn and Neptune. There's two very strong planets in the heavens, the exalted Jupiter and Neptune, which is the ruler of Pisces, and Neptune and Saturn are conjuncting, which makes them twice as strong, and they are opposing that gentle moon in your sign. And so there is the possibility that either some information is going to come out behind the scenes that is somewhat hostile or unflattering and could generate some sort of legal problem, and you would be caught up in that, Virgo. If you have anything to hide, it might be coming out right now. If you don't have anything to hide, you don't have to worry about that. But you do have to worry about the fact that Venus, the Sun, and Mars in Sagittarius are all squaring that moon. When the Sun and the moon square or oppose each other, it is an indication of indecision or confusion. And that might describe your state of mind right now, Virgo. And maybe you're undecided about how to handle your finances or your costs, or you don't quite know how to handle a health issue that could have to do with a mental problem, a psychological problem, or a physical problem. I would suggest that you spend money on trying to fix that if you have anything in that area. Put your money on your own nose, Virgo, and try to improve your health or your state of mind if you can, because there are hostile forces around you. And they don't have your best interest in mind, Virgo. They have their best interest in mind. And remember, Saturn is one malefic planet, which is opposing your sun, and Mars is the other, which is squaring your sun, where you have the moon. So your feelings could be going through a rough time right now, because the moon rules our feelings. But then the moon rules Cancer. And Jupiter is in Cancer, sextiling your sun for months to come. And that means that you, Virgo, have to be very honest about your deepest feelings right now and pay attention to them. And if you have a precious goal or a precious dream, well, a success begins with you, Virgo. You're going to have to be real honest about what you're doing. And possibly you do not need to do so many things right now. Maybe you need to unload a little bit and just not push yourself too hard and concentrate a little bit more on what's good for you. So I hope you do that. Okay, what does it mean to a Libra? Well, Libra. This is a time, Libra, when, these aren't quite the good old days. They're not even as good as last week. Because there's only one planet in an air sign right now, Libra, and it is Pluto in Aquarius, and it is trining your sun, which means that people in upper management in large corporations, government agencies, or institutions could be quite ready to listen to what you have to say, Libra, and your sign rules partnership. So if you were looking for a new partner for any reason, whether it's a temporary thing or it's a longer term thing, if you were looking for a partner, I would aim a little higher, Libra. I would sort of go to the top, or present your ideas to people at the top, not the first person that you meet when you're walking in the door, but make an appointment with somebody who has the authority to do something about your good idea if they like it. So don't waste your breath just talking randomly to a whole lot of people right now, Libra. Try to aim toward, with your own good ideas, toward a partner that you'd really want to have, that you are compatible, that you think you would, even if you haven't met them, that you think you would be compatible with, or who has ideas that you are very much in favor of, and maybe you want to join the team. You could do it, but you'd have to aim up. You'd have to aim higher at people who, they have financial problems of their own, but you know, people who are looking toward the future, even if they don't quite know how they're going to pay for everything they want, they are always looking for new ideas. That's what living in the future is all about, the next new thing. So if you have a good idea and you need a partner to help you with that, you might be able to get that right now, as long as you're aiming a little bit higher and sort of talking to people who may have the authority to go ahead and not only listen to you, but have you join them in making that idea of yours come true. That is possible. On the other hand, there are things, Libra, that you have to end. And the reason why is that the only planet that isn't having any problem at all right now is Jupiter in Cancer, which is a cardinal sign, and so is your sign. So Jupiter in Cancer has been squaring your sun for a while. That is not such a bad thing, Libra. Jupiter doesn't do much wrong anywhere that it is. It's a really good planet. But Jupiter in Cancer is squaring your sun sign right now, and it's part of a grand trine, and it's the only planet that doesn't have anything challenging it. But it is challenging your sign, which means, Libra, since Cancer rules endings, there could still be some things that you need to end. And that could help take you into the future. And you just can't have one foot in the past and the other one in the future, because all you're going to do is split yourself. You're not going to make it. You have to sort of say, okay, I'll say goodbye to the past, and I'm going to try for my future, and I'm going to aim a little higher in order to make it. And there is a possibility that you could, because Pluto in Aquarius is going to be trining your sun and the Gemini sun for years to come. And that represents those people in upper management, so you got to take advantage of trying to get to know them, Libra. The Libras are so charming, they would really like you. You don't have to worry about anything. You just have to be very well prepared before you speak to them, because they are not the kind of people that want to waste their time. And so you need to present your ideas in a solid format. And then you might just really pick up a great new partner. Good luck. Okay, what does it mean to a Scorpio? Well, Scorpio, Mercury is in your sign at the 28th degree right now. And it is part of the grand trine in the water signs, which means that Jupiter is trining it at 24 degrees, and it's retrograde right now. But that's a close, tight trine. And then Saturn is at 25 degrees. It's direct, and it's trining that Mercury in your sign. And then it's conjuncting Neptune, the other very strong planet in the heavens, because it's the ruler of Pisces. At home in the sun it rules, and it's at the 29th degree of fate. And they're all trining that Mercury in your sign, which is a fixed financial sign. Well, all the fixed financial signs have money problems right now. That could be you too, Scorpio, because people could be wanting your money. And why is that? Because Pluto in Aquarius, which represents people that are looking at, they're worried, they're a little stuck. They have to meet their own payrolls, and they still need money to do what they want in the future. Maybe they want your money, Scorpio. You need to be pretty careful and hang on to your money if you can right now. Because the most important thing for you, Scorpio, is to follow your most sincere feelings. All the water signs rule feelings. Well, they also rule healing. And your sign does rule not only justice, but survival. And if there is something that has upset you or broken your heart or hurt you in some way, in order to survive, you'll have to heal from it, won't you? And they say time is the great healer. But it also means you've got to, you've got to do your part too, Scorpio. And so that means that if you have the money to go forward and make a fond dream come true, or you're thinking you've got the money to make a move at last, because Saturn is now direct and it's trining your sun, you ought to do it. But you need to end something, maybe more than one thing, from your past. Because you can't have one foot in the past and the other in the future. You're not anywhere then. You're just splitting yourself in two. Does that make any sense? You can't survive that way. So if you're going to go forward and follow your fondest feelings, you got to really go for it now, Scorpio, while the Grand Trine is holding, because it's not going to continue to hold. Mercury's going to move out of your sign, which is one of the 3 water signs, and that'll break the Grand Trine. Jupiter will still be trining your sun. Saturn and Neptune will be trining your sun, but not for long. They're going to go back into Aries. And so if a precious dream of yours sort of floats off into the sunset, it'll be because you did not do anything to nail it down, make it come true. And what are you waiting for, Scorpio? If you're still living in the past and you're dreaming about the future, you're never going to make it to the dream or the future. So you've got to end something first. And Jupiter in Cancer is trining Mercury in your sign closely. So there should be some more money coming to you, Scorpio. And all I'm hoping is that you spend it on your future, not your past. And if you have to make a move, even if it was back to a place that you grew up in or that you're familiar with, well, you'd still have to have the money to redo it in some way. And you may be even able to make a fond dream come true, and that would be good. Because the way to heal is to go forward. We can't live in yesterday. So we have to move forward. And I hope you do that. Because with this Grand Trine in water signs, there's certainly something or someone wonderful out there for you, Scorpio. And they may have been waiting a long time. Saturn's in Pisces too. But Saturn is direct now. And so, good luck. All right, what does it mean to a Sagittarian? Well, Sagittarius, you could be a bundle of energy right now, but some of it could be misplaced. And I don't think that's your fault, Sagittarius. But, there could be some people around that sort of have a bone to pick with you, Sagittarius, because you do have Venus in your sign. You're sort of a good target right now. People could be very drawn to you, Sagittarius. They may not all be honest. They may not all be thinking of your best interests. They could be thinking of their best interests, because you also have Mars in your sign, which is a planet that has a lot to do with aggression, a war, a hate, and greed, and jealousy. And so, there could be hostile forces around you, or it can be that you feel that you've really got a bone to pick with somebody and you want to do it now. I would not attempt that, Sagittarius. Not because you don't feel that you're 100% right about something, but what would it get you in the end? I don't see victory. The show is called Small Victories. That's the best anybody can do this week. And so nobody can have it all their own way right now. But if we're true to our own feelings and honest in our hearts about what's right for us, we could achieve a small victory. Even you could, Sagittarius, but you've got some problems ahead of you with hostile forces around you, or with a possible betrayal going on, and that is because Saturn is squaring Mars in your sign. And it is, and Saturn and Mars are squaring and opposing the moon in Virgo, which rules our feelings. Well, Virgo also rules our health. And if you have been putting off some sort of a health problem that you really do need to address, Sagittarius, walk, don't run, to try and get, run, don't walk, to try and get that health problem fixed while you can. Because with Mars in your sign, it isn't going to get any better on its own, Sagittarius. It just isn't. And so you have Venus in your sign too. And so I think, Sagittarius, if you were going to look for a small victory, look inside and ask yourself, okay, how can I improve myself? What can I do that could make my life better? Or how can I relieve the stress in my life? You certainly are undergoing some sort of stress right now, Sagittarius. There are no planets in the other fire signs. There's nothing supporting your sign. You just have this bundle of planets in your sign that are being very harshly aspected by other planets right now. And so even if you said, oh, I'm a perfect angel and I don't cause anybody any problems, well, for that very reason, you could be easy pickings right now. You could be the next target for other people that, that have hostile attitudes and sort of want to take them out on you. And don't let yourself be like that, Sagittarius. And don't respond when somebody else is trying to sort of goad you into doing something that would be unflattering to you in the end. Don't do that either. Try to step back if you can. Your sign has no support. There's nothing in Aries. There's nothing in Leo. And so do your best for yourself right now, Sagittarius. And that might mean that you have to sort of clean up your own act in one way or another. I'm not saying that you're doing anything wrong, but you may have been ignoring a health problem. And maybe now is a better time to focus on that instead and get that taken care of. So good luck. Okay, what does it mean to a Capricorn? Capricorn. Well, Capricorn, yours is a cardinal sign. There aren't any planets in the cardinal signs except one. It is the exalted Jupiter in Cancer, which is opposing your sun sign, and Cancer rules endings. And it rules the last half of life, and it rules moving. And so Capricorn, you could be thinking about moving. I don't think you'd be thinking about an expansive move. I don't mean expensive, I mean expansive. In other words, if you were living in a small place, I don't think I don't think even if you were living in somewhere that you could afford, I don't think that you're thinking of spending a whole lot of money on something else and really sort of like blowing your wad on some big purchase right now. I don't think you're thinking like that, Capricorn, thank heavens. But you could be looking at something that it could be just a lifestyle of the way you're living your life right now. And you could have all that, you could be happy with that, but on the other hand, there is the possibility that you may want to change something in your life as well. And the moon in Virgo is trining your sun, and Uranus in Taurus is also trining your sun. Okay, there's just nothing in the cardinal signs except Jupiter in Cancer, which is opposing your sign, but your sign does have some backup even though there's nothing in it. And so Uranus in Taurus is under severe duress right now because all the fixed signs have financial problems, but it is trining your sun. So if you have some investments or some commercial property that you own, Capricorn, you may be thinking ahead to the very long life that you are going to live, and you may want to consolidate some of your finances into a package that could be a little bit easier to handle as you get older. That would be a very good idea, Capricorn. The other thing is that you may want to sell something or cut down the cost in your lifestyle a little bit in order to provide some sort of remedy for your own health. And that could be because the moon is in Virgo and it rules health. And so you may want to concentrate a little bit more of your resources on your own health, whether it's a diet or exercise program that you alone have got to do for yourself, or whether it is some sort of medical treatment or something for a mental problem that you want to talk about, or a psychological problem. Maybe you just want to have a little bit more money to spend on that. And so that would improve the quality of your life. And the quality of life should be of paramount importance to a Capricorn, because Capricorn rules old age. You already know you're going to make that, Capricorn. But what about the quality of your life? How could you improve that? This is a good time for you to think about how to redo your money a little bit to improve the rest of your life. And it may mean that you have to change your lifestyle or improve your health in one way now. So good luck. Okay, what does it mean to an Aquarian? Well, Aquarius, your sign rules the future. Pluto is there for many, many years to come. But it's part of a harsh T-cross among the fixed signs. And so, Aquarius, you could have your mind on wanting to do something that is more your own style. Pluto rules deep truth. But it also rules people in upper management in large corporations or government agencies that have their eye on the future, and your sign rules the future. So you might be a little bit more comfortable now, Aquarius, if you can get your good ideas together to present them to people that are a little higher up or who have more authority right now. Because, you know, if you have a really good idea, which people who are looking into the future are always looking for, they're always looking for good ideas. That's what the future's all about. And so, since your sign rules the future, if you have a good idea, Aquarius, this is a really good time for you to refine that idea, polish it up, put it into some sort of presentation that is pretty good, and could sort of sell your ideas to other people, and then make an appointment with somebody that's got the authority to approve it. And they may like it a whole lot more than you think, Aquarius. Pluto's going to be in your sign for years to come, possibly decades. You have a chance to move on up based on your own good ideas. And also, you would probably be more fascinated by people who are looking into the future than people who are living in the past. Because that would only drag you back to the past, which could be pretty boring to you, Aquarius. Aquarius are just full of great ideas, some of which nobody's ever heard of, but they've got them. And the world has never seen Pluto in your sign before. But they're going to get a real eyeful of it because it's going to be in your sign for years. And this is your opportunity to head on into the future, Aquarius. And even if you have just a small victory, and even if you are not too sure about where the money's coming from for anything, if you have the good idea, that's what everybody needs first. It isn't the money that comes first, it's the idea. Invention starts that way, with an idea. Even if it's an idea nobody's ever tried before, you ought to believe a little bit more in yourself right now, Aquarius, and don't hold back. And if you don't have the money to fulfill what you want to do, if it's a precious goal or a precious dream, then go talk to somebody else who does have the money. Because as long as you're looking at tomorrow and not yesterday, you're going to do better than you think, Aquarius, in the future. And even if it's a small victory just to get an appointment with somebody right now, at least you're headed in the right direction. So I'd give that a go. Because yours is a fixed sign. All the fixed signs are having money problems right now because they can't completely afford their current costs on their current budget, and they don't have the money to spend a lot of money on the future either. That's why you got to hook up with somebody else. I suggest that you give it a try, Aquarius. What do you have to lose? And on top of that, Pluto is in your sign. As long as you're telling the truth about whatever you feel or whatever you want to do, you are aspected to succeed at it because Pluto rules deep truth. And it's finally in your sign for the only time in our recorded history. So go to it. And good luck. Okay, what does it mean to a Pisces? Well, Pisces, you know there are two very strong planets in the heavens, and one of them's in your sign, Pisces. It's Neptune, which is your own ruler. It's at the 29th degree of fate, indicating that something is on or over in your life, Pisces. And it could be a dream of yours, since Neptune rules dreams. But it could be something that has to do with an ending, because the exalted Jupiter in Cancer is trining Neptune in your sign and Saturn there. They're conjuncting, which makes both of them twice as strong. And also Saturn is direct now, and Neptune, both of them are going to go direct and leave your sign fairly soon, Pisces. And so while this exalted Jupiter, which has nothing wrong with it at all, because there's nothing squaring or opposing it, is trining the second planet that is so strong, your own ruler, Neptune in your sign, which is being conjuncted by Saturn, which is an indication that something you've been thinking about or something that you've been wanting to do for a very long time, it's possible that it could come true. I don't mean the whole thing comes true right now. I don't think anybody, if you're lucky, Pisces, you could have a small victory this week. That's about as good as anybody's going to get this week, I think, because there's just too many planets, 9 of them, that are in some sort of harsh T-cross one way or another. But the grand trine in water signs is holding, and yours is a water sign. Mercury is at 28 degrees in Scorpio, also trine Saturn and Neptune in your sign. And it is an indication, since it's a fixed financial sign, and it is in a grand trine of the water signs, that there could be some more money coming to you, Pisces. Or if there's something that you wanted to do, and even if it didn't cost much money, it can be that as long as you're sort of aiming for your fondest dream or your most cherished goal, even if there is just a small victory or some small seed money to start it, it would have a tendency to keep growing. There would be more money coming. And so don't give up on yourself or your dreams right now, Pisces. You are much closer to having them come true than you realize. And that would be after a very long delay. Saturn is a planet of delay. But it's not retrograde anymore. It's direct. And since Jupiter is retrograde, but it's trining your sun, it simply means that if you had to do anything right now to sort of clear the decks and head toward your fondest dream or a precious goal of yours, it would be that you'd have to still end things from your past. You really would have to do that, Pisces. And Pisces are pretty easygoing, you know, that's the way they are. But some doors have to close now, Pisces. Because if they don't close, you're not going to be able to open a new door to your future. And your future is staring at you. It's pretty much now or never, Pisces. But you'll have to close some doors to your past to get there. And that's what you can do very successfully right now, because Jupiter is, it's at 24 degrees. The trine in the water signs is tight. And that means that Jupiter is at 24 degrees, trining Saturn at 25 degrees, and Neptune at 29 degrees, and Mercury is in Scorpio, also trining all those planets, and it's at 28 degrees. These four planets are getting along so beautifully. You can't lose right now, Pisces, but you have to stop wandering around in your life and think about settling down and think about going forward, even think about a move, because if you were going to make a successful move right now, one that had been long delayed, even if you were moving back home or you were moving back to a lifestyle that you perhaps had left or missed, you could do it. But the clock's ticking, Pisces. You'd have to do it real quick now, or at least start it. And so you could get a small victory. But if you were headed right toward your fondest dream, and you were honest with yourself, and you were headed into the future, and you had some money to help you with that, you could do it. But if you think it's going to be next year, it's not. Because neither Saturn or Neptune are going to be in your sign next year. They're moving. And Neptune's transit is 146 years. It's not coming back. And it's your own ruler, and it's beautifully aspected right now. You just have to get up and get going, Pisces. So I hope you eat your Cheerios and do that. And even if the first thing you have to do is end a few things, that's going to open the door to your future. It really will. But you're the one that has to close those doors to the past first. So good luck. I hope you do that. All right. Thanks so much for tuning in. I hope we all have some small victories this week. That's better than nothing. And I think that as long as we're honest and true to what we really feel in our hearts, we will be able to do that. So I wish you all the best of luck. I want to thank you for the new subscribers. And I hope you tell your friends about STARBORN. I'd love to have more nice viewers just like all of you are. So thanks a lot. I'll see you next week. Bye.